Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and watched the stars through the main window. He had been a ship captain for 12 years, but he still felt amazed every time he looked at space. The year was 2387, and humans had built 17 colonies on 12 different worlds. It was not much compared to the size of the galaxy, but it was home. "Captain, we are getting strange readings from the asteroid field," said Lisa Park from her science station. She was the best scientist on the ship and rarely got excited about anything. But today, her voice sounded different. Jake walked over to her station and looked at the screen. Green and blue lines moved across it in patterns he had never seen before. "What kind of readings?" "Energy signatures that do not match anything we know," Lisa said. She pushed some buttons and the display changed. "These are not natural. Something made them." The bridge became quiet. Every person stopped what they were doing and looked at the screen. In all the years humans had been exploring space, they had never found proof of alien life. They had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. "Are you sure?" Jake asked. Lisa nodded. "I have checked the data 3 times. These signals are artificial. There is technology in that asteroid field." Jake felt his heart beat faster. This could be the most important discovery in human history. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what we found. Then take us closer to those asteroids, but keep our distance." The ship moved toward the asteroid field. Jake watched the rocks floating in space and wondered what secrets they might hold. Were there friendly aliens waiting to meet them? Or was there danger hiding in the darkness? 2 hours later, something came out of the asteroids. 3 ships appeared, sleek and silver like nothing humans had ever built. They moved without making any sound and seemed to flow through space like water. "Captain, they are trying to talk to us," said the communications officer, a young man named Rick Davis. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The screen showed a face that was almost human but not quite right. The skin was pale gray and the eyes were too large. Tubes and wires went into the creature's neck and head. When it spoke, the voice sounded like it came from a machine. "Greetings, young species," the alien said. "We are the Vex Collective. We have been watching your kind for some time." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship UES Horizon. We come in peace and hope to learn about your people." The alien's face showed something that might have been a smile. "Peace. Yes, we understand this concept. We are shepherds of the galaxy. We guide younger species and help them grow." Over the next few weeks, more Vex ships arrived. They brought gifts of technology and knowledge. They showed humans how to make better energy shields and faster engines. The aliens seemed friendly and helpful. Ambassador Kate Williams came from Earth to lead the talks with the Vex. She was a smart woman who had spent her life bringing different groups together. Admiral Ryan Clark also came with a fleet of human ships just in case there was trouble. The meetings took place on a space station that both sides could reach easily. The Vex leader called himself Overseer Zenth. He spoke about bringing humans into a larger community of species that the Vex protected and guided. "Your kind has potential," Zenth told the human delegates. "With our help, you could become something greater than you are now." Kate Williams smiled and nodded. "We would be honored to learn from you and join this community." For 3 weeks, the talks went well. The Vex shared star maps showing other worlds humans could colonize. They offered to teach human scientists about advanced medicine and space travel. Everything seemed perfect. Then came the day that changed everything. Kate Williams was in a meeting with Zenth and other Vex leaders when alarms started going off throughout the space station. Human security officers ran toward the meeting room, but they never made it inside. Zenth's face changed. The friendly expression disappeared, replaced by something cold and cruel. "The time for pretending is over," he said. "What do you mean?" Kate asked, confused. "Your species is a contamination," Zenth replied. "You spread across worlds like a disease. You take resources and change environments to suit yourselves. This cannot be allowed to continue." On the screens around the room, Kate could see Vex, fleets appearing near human colonies. Hundreds of alien ships surrounded New Terra, Haven Point, and Port Liberty. The ships were not there to talk. "You are making a mistake," Kate said, trying to stay calm. "We can work together. We do not have to fight. Xanth shook his head. There is no mistake. We have studied your kind carefully. You are aggressive, wasteful, and dangerous. You will either submit to our control or be removed entirely. The first energy beams hit New Terra while Kate was still talking. She watched on the screens as alien weapons turned human cities into burning ruins. Ships trying to evacuate civilians were shot down before they could escape. Admiral Clark's voice came over the radio from his flagship. All human ships, this is Admiral Clark. We are under attack. All colonies are under attack. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Kate looked at Xanth with horror. You are killing innocent people, families, children. We are removing a threat, Xanth said without emotion. Your people had the chance to submit. They chose to resist. This is the consequence. The attacks continued for 6 hours. When they ended, over 200,000 humans were dead. 3 entire colonies had been wiped out. The Vex had shown their true nature, and it was nothing like what they had pretended to be. The last message from New Terra came from Ben Murphy, the colony administrator. His voice was filled with fear and anger. They are not taking prisoners. They are not trying to conquer us. They are just erasing us. If anyone receives this message, remember what happened here. Do not trust them. Fight back with everything you have. Then the signal went dead. Jake Morrison received the news while his ship was still near the asteroid field where everything had started. He looked at the peaceful stars and realized that the galaxy was not the safe place humans had hoped it would be. The Vex had declared war on humanity, and they had the technology to win. But Jake and his crew were still alive. As long as any humans survived, there was still hope. The Vex had made one mistake. They had let some humans live, and those humans would remember what had happened. They would learn, adapt, and find a way to fight back. The war for human survival had begun. News of the Vex attack spread through human space like wildfire. On Earth, President Maria Santos called an emergency meeting of the World Council. She was a strong leader who had guided humanity through difficult times before, but nothing had prepared her for this. We are facing the extinction of our species, she told the assembled leaders. The Vex have made it clear they want to wipe us out completely. We have 2 choices. We adapt and fight, or we die. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Nathan Cross, the director of Human Defense, stood up. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent his life preparing for threats to humanity. But even he had never imagined something like this. We need to change everything about how we think and fight, Nathan said. The old rules of war do not apply anymore. We are fighting for our survival as a species. Within days, President Santos declared total war. Every human world began preparing for battle. Factories that made civilian goods were changed to produce weapons and ships. Scientists who had been working on peaceful projects were ordered to find ways to fight the Vex. Dr. Amy Foster was one of those scientists. She had been studying alien biology as a hobby, never thinking she would need to use that knowledge to save humanity. Now she found herself in charge of Project Prometheus, a secret program to understand Vex technology. Amy worked in underground labs on Mars with the best minds humanity could find. They studied pieces of Vex ships that had been recovered from the battle sites. What they discovered was both amazing and frightening. The Vex do not just use technology, Amy explained to Nathan Cross during one of his visits. They are part of it. Their bodies are connected to their machines through biological interfaces. That is why their ships respond so quickly and work so well together. Nathan frowned. How does that help us? Amy smiled for the first time in weeks. Because every strength can become a weakness if you know how to exploit it. We are learning to disrupt those biological connections. If we can cut them off from their technology, they become much more vulnerable. While Amy worked on understanding Vex technology, Captain Sam Rodriguez was developing new ways to fight. He had been put in charge of the Ghost Fleet, a group of ships designed for secret missions and surprise attacks. Sam knew that humans could not win in direct battles against the Vex. The aliens had better shields, faster ships, and more powerful weapons. But humans had something the Vex did not expect: the ability to think in ways that broke all the rules. "We are not going to fight like gentlemen," Sam told his captains during their first meeting. "We are going to fight like pirates, like rebels, like desperate animals. We will use every dirty trick we can think of." The Ghost Fleet ships were painted black and equipped with the best stealth technology humans could build. They avoided big battles and instead attacked Vex supply ships and communication stations, hit fast, hit hard, then disappear before the enemy could respond. Meanwhile, the Vex continued their attacks on human colonies. They destroyed Meridian Base and Outpost 7, killing thousands more people. Each attack followed the same pattern: overwhelming force designed to wipe out every human life. But something strange began to happen. The Vex found that humans were not as easy to kill as they had expected. Colonies that should have fallen in hours fought back for days or weeks. Civilian ships that should have been helpless began fighting like military vessels. Commander Alex Turner was in charge of Phoenix Station, the last major human outpost in the Outer Rim. When he received word that a Vex fleet was coming, he did not panic. Instead, he gathered his people and made a speech. "They think we are weak because we are not as advanced as they are," Alex said. "They think we will just give up and die quietly, but they do not understand what it means to be human. We do not give up, we adapt, we find a way." Alex turned Phoenix Station into a fortress using mining equipment, cargo containers, and anything else he could find. When the Vex arrived, they expected to destroy another helpless human outpost. Instead, they found themselves in a real fight. The battle for Phoenix Station lasted 3 days. Alex's people used modified mining lasers as weapons and turned cargo, ships, into bombers. They fought from every corridor and room, making the Vex pay for every meter of ground. In the end, Phoenix Station fell, but not before destroying 2 Vex ships and damaging 3 others. The aliens had won, but they had learned something important. Humans were dangerous when cornered. Dr. Foster's research team made their first major breakthrough during the battle for Phoenix Station. They created weapons that could punch through, Vex energy shields and devices that could disrupt the aliens' biological interfaces. "It works," Amy told Nathan Cross as they watched test footage. "We can hurt them now. We can cut them off from their technology and make them fight on our terms." The new weapons were rushed to frontline forces. Human ships that had been running and hiding suddenly began fighting back with deadly effect. Vex crews found their perfect coordination broken when their biological links were disrupted. But the real change was in humanity itself. The species that had once explored space with wonder and hope was becoming something harder and more dangerous. Children on human worlds learned to shoot before they learned to read. Every civilian carried weapons and knew how to use them. Captain Jake Morrison saw the change when he returned to Earth for repairs. The planet he remembered was gone, replaced by a world at war. Orbital defense platforms surrounded Earth like a metal shell. The skies were full of military ships instead of passenger shuttles. "We are not the same people we were 6 months ago," President Santos told him during a private meeting. "The Vex wanted to destroy us, but instead they created something new. They created a humanity that knows how to fight." Jake nodded. He had seen the change in his own crew. They moved differently now, thought differently. They had learned that the galaxy was not a safe place and that survival required strength. The war was changing both sides. The Vex had expected a quick extermination campaign, but instead found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to die easily. Their perfect coordination began to show cracks as human weapons disrupted their biological networks. Human forces started winning small victories. A Vex supply convoy destroyed here, a communication station taken out there. Each success taught humanity more about their enemy and gave them confidence that the aliens could be beaten. Admiral Ryan Clark, who had survived the initial attacks, was put in charge of planning humanity's first major counterattack. He studied every battle, every engagement, looking for patterns in how the Vex fought. "They are predictable," he told his staff officers. "They follow the same tactics every time because those tactics have always worked before. But they have never fought an enemy like us." The counterattack came at the Vex fleet base in the Alpha Centauri system. Human ships equipped with the new anti-Vex weapons struck without warning. The battle was short, but decisive. For the first time, humans destroyed more Vex ships than they lost. News of the victory spread through human space, giving people hope that had been missing since the war began. The Vex were not invincible. They could be hurt and they could be beaten. But the war was far from over. The Vex had hundreds of ships and controlled dozens of star systems. Humanity had proven they could fight back, but they still faced a long and difficult struggle for survival. As the second phase of the war began, both sides prepared for a conflict that would determine the fate of two species. The Vex had started the war expecting easy victory. Now they found themselves fighting an enemy that grew stronger and more dangerous with each passing day. Humanity had awakened to the harsh realities of the galaxy. They had learned to adapt, to evolve, and to become whatever survival required. The scared and peaceful species that had first met the Vex was gone forever, replaced by something far more dangerous. General Peter Kane stood in the war room on Earth, looking at a map of the galaxy that showed Vex and human positions. Red dots marked enemy fleets while blue dots showed human forces. There were far more red dots than blue ones, but Peter was not worried. He had a plan. Operation Nightfall begins in 6 hours, he announced to the assembled commanders. We are not going to fight the way they expect us to fight. We are going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity. The plan was unlike anything humans had tried before. Instead of gathering their ships into large fleets for big battles, they would scatter into thousands of small groups. Each group would have only a few ships, but they would all attack at the same time across 17 different star systems. Captain Nicole Brooks commanded Wolfpack Alpha, one of the new attack groups. Her ships were small and fast, equipped with the latest human-Vex hybrid weapons that Dr. Foster's team had developed. They could punch through Vex shields and disappear before the enemy could respond. Remember, Nicole told her pilots over the radio, we are not here to win glorious battles. We are here to hurt them and make them afraid. Hit their supply ships, destroy their communication stations, and get out fast. The attacks began exactly on schedule. Across Vex space, human forces struck like a swarm of angry insects. They targeted everything that kept the Vex war machine running. Fuel depots, supply convoys, repair stations, and communication networks. The Vex had never faced this kind of warfare before. They were used to fighting enemies who challenged them, to direct battles between large fleets. But humans refused to fight that way. They struck from unexpected directions, used unconventional weapons, and disappeared before the Vex could organize a response. Overseer Zenth watched the reports coming in from across his territory and felt something he had never experienced before: confusion. His forces were being attacked everywhere at once, but when they tried to fight back, the humans were already gone. How many ships are they using? He asked his tactical advisor. Intelligence suggests thousands of small vessels, Overseer. They appear to be avoiding direct confrontation in favor of disruption tactics. Zenth's face showed anger. This is not how civilized species wage war. They fight without honor, like animals. But the human tactics were working. Vex fleets found themselves cut off from supplies and unable to communicate with each other. Ships that had operated with perfect coordination for centuries suddenly found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Major Tony Martinez led one of the most daring missions of the war. His Marines were tasked with boarding and capturing a Vex command ship. It was something humans had never attempted before, but Tony knew it could provide valuable intelligence. The boarding pods attached to the Vex ship's hull with magnetic clamps. Tony and his men cut through the metal using modified mining equipment and entered the alien vessel. The corridors were dark and filled with strange organic structures that pulsed with blue light. "Stay together and watch for traps," Tony whispered to his men. "These ships are alive in ways we do not understand." The Marines moved through the ship using the biological disruptors that Dr. Foster had designed. The devices sent out signals that interfered with Vex cybernetic implants, leaving the aliens confused and helpless. When they reached the command center, Tony found something that shocked him. The Vex crew members were not just connected to their ship through cables and wires. They were physically fused with the vessel itself, their bodies merged with the ship's systems. "My God," whispered one of the Marines. "They are not just using the ship. They are part of it." Tony's team managed to capture the ship's data core and several Vex prisoners before escaping. The information they gathered would prove crucial to humanity's war effort. Dr. Foster studied the captured data with excitement and horror. The files revealed the true nature of the Vex Collective and their network that connected every member of their species. "They share everything," she explained to General Kane. "Every thought, every memory, every experience. It makes them incredibly coordinated, but it also means they all think the same way." "How does that help us?" Kane asked. Amy smiled grimly. "Because if they all think the same way, they will all react the same way to the same stimulus. We can predict what they will do and use that against them." The Vex network became humanity's primary target. Lieutenant Commander Grace Evans led Special Forces teams against the relay stations that maintained the aliens' collective consciousness. These facilities were heavily defended and considered untouchable by the Vex. Grace's first mission was against a relay station hidden in an asteroid field. Her ships approached using full stealth mode, invisible to Vex sensors. When they attacked, the aliens were completely unprepared. "Target the biological components first," Grace ordered as her ships opened fire. "Disrupt the network before they can call for help." The relay station was destroyed in minutes. Across 3 star systems, Vex coordination immediately became confused and erratic. Ships that had moved with perfect precision suddenly began making mistakes. As more relay stations fell to human attacks, the Vex network began to collapse. The aliens found themselves cut off from the collective consciousness that had guided them for thousands of years. Individual Vex commanders had to make decisions on their own, something they were not trained to do. Captain Jake Morrison, now commanding the UES Retribution, led the attack on the most important relay station of all. It was located in the Kepler 442 system, the same place where humans had first met the Vex. "This is where it all started," Jake told his crew as they approached the target. "This is where they showed us their true nature. Now we show them ours." The battle was intense but brief. Human ships surrounded the facility and pounded it with hybrid weapons until nothing remained but debris. The destruction of the primary relay station sent shockwaves through the entire Vex network. Without their collective consciousness to guide them, Vex fleets began making critical errors. Ships collided with each other during complex maneuvers. Attack formations fell apart. Communication between different units became confused and contradictory. The psychological impact on individual Vex was even more devastating. Creatures that had never been alone suddenly found themselves cut off from the shared thoughts and experiences of their species. Many suffered what humans would call nervous breakdowns. Admiral Clark took advantage of the chaos to launch larger attacks against Vex positions. Human fleets that had been hiding and running for months suddenly appeared in force, striking at enemy bases and supply lines. "They are falling apart," Clark reported to Earth Command. "Whatever we did to their network, it worked. They are fighting like separate groups instead of one coordinated force." The tide of the war had turned completely. Vex forces that had once seemed invincible were now retreating across multiple fronts. Human ships pursued them relentlessly, giving them no time to regroup or rebuild their shattered network. In desperation, the Vex began pulling ships from across their empire to defend their core worlds. This left their outer territories undefended and gave humans the opportunity to capture intact alien technology and facilities. Dr. Foster's research teams studied every piece of Vex equipment they could find. Each discovery led to new weapons and better tactics for fighting the aliens. Humanity was not just winning the war. They were learning to become something more dangerous than their enemies. Captain Rodriguez's Ghost Fleet had grown from a few dozen ships to several hundred. They roamed through Vex space like hunters, picking off isolated enemy vessels and destroying anything of military value. "The prey has become the predator," Rodriguez told his captains during a planning meeting. 6 months ago they were hunting us to extinction. Now we are hunting them. The Vex leadership realized they were losing a war they had expected to win easily. Overseer Zenth called an emergency council meeting to discuss their options. For the first time in centuries, the Vex were considering retreat. Perhaps we underestimated this species, one advisor suggested. They have proven more adaptable than our analysis predicted. Zenth refused to accept failure. We are the Vex Collective. We have eliminated 7 species from this galaxy. We will not be defeated by these primitive humans. But the evidence was clear. Humanity had not only survived the Vex attempt at genocide, they had evolved into something far more dangerous. The peaceful explorers who had first made contact were gone, replaced by a species that fought with desperate creativity and ruthless efficiency. As human forces closed in on Vex core territory, the aliens faced a terrible choice. They could continue fighting and risk complete destruction, or they could retreat and abandon their goal of eliminating humanity. The war that the Vex had started as a simple extermination campaign had become a struggle for their own survival. They had awakened something in humanity that they did not understand and could not control. The hunter had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years had passed since the last Vex ship was destroyed, and humanity had changed in ways that would have been impossible to imagine before the war. The scattered colonies that had once struggled to survive were now part of a powerful empire that controlled hundreds of star systems. President Maria Santos, now in her 3rd term, stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting Earth. Through the massive windows, she could see the orbital defense platforms that surrounded the planet like a metal shield. Warships patrolled the system in regular patterns, their weapons always ready. "We are not the same species we were," she said to General Nathan Cross, who had become her closest advisor. "The Vex wanted to destroy us, but instead they created something stronger." Nathan nodded as he watched a squadron of fighters conduct training exercises near the moon. Every human child now learns to fight before they learn to read. Every civilian ship carries weapons. Every colony has defensive systems that could stop a fleet. The Human Defense Directorate, established after the war, made sure that humanity would never again be caught unprepared. General Peter Kane served as its first director, implementing policies based on the hard lessons learned during the conflict. "The galaxy is not a safe place," Kane often told new recruits. "Peace only exists when you are strong enough to enforce it. The moment you become weak, someone will try to take what you have built." Dr. Amy Foster had become the Director of Advanced Research, leading programs that integrated captured Vex technology with human innovation. The biological weapons she had created during the war now protected human space from any potential threats. "We understand alien biology better than any species in this region of the galaxy," she explained to a group of scientists studying her research. "We know how to fight beings that are very different from us, and we know how to win." The war had brought incredible technological advances. Human ships could now travel faster than ever before, and human weapons could penetrate any known type of defensive system. Life expectancy had increased dramatically, and diseases that had once killed thousands were now easily cured. But the greatest change was in how humans thought about the universe. The species that had once believed in the goodness of other intelligent life now understood that survival required constant vigilance and overwhelming strength. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the Deep Space Reconnaissance Fleet, ships that probed the furthest reaches of known space looking for signs of other hostile species. His vessels were equipped with the most advanced sensors and weapons humanity could build. "We will never again be surprised by an enemy," Morrison told his captains during a briefing. "We will find them before they find us, and we will be ready for whatever they bring." The reconnaissance fleets had discovered evidence of the Vex's previous victims. On dead worlds throughout the region, human archaeologists found ruins of civilizations that had been completely destroyed by the aliens. The discoveries confirmed that humanity's actions had been necessary. 7 species, Dr. Lisa Park reported to the World Council. 7 intelligent civilizations that the Vex eliminated over the past 1,000 years. We would have been number 8 if we had not fought back. The evidence served to justify humanity's complete destruction of the Vex, but it also provided valuable information about other potential threats. Each ruined world taught human scientists something new about alien technology and biology. Captain Sam Rodriguez's Ghost Fleet had evolved into humanity's primary intelligence service. His ships moved through space like shadows, gathering information about other species and making sure that none of them posed a threat to human interests. Knowledge is power, Rodriguez often said. The more we know about potential enemies, the better we can prepare to defeat them. Other alien species had begun making contact with humanity, but not as potential conquerors. Word had spread throughout this region of the galaxy about what had happened to the Vex, and most species approached humans with caution and respect. The Cathara Empire had been one of the first to request formal relations. They had once served as tributaries to the Vex, providing resources and soldiers for alien campaigns. When the Vex disappeared, they found themselves free but vulnerable. Ambassador Kate Williams, who had survived the initial betrayal, now handled most diplomatic contacts with alien species. Her experience with the Vex had taught her valuable lessons about dealing with non-human intelligence. "We welcome peaceful contact with other species," she told the Kithara delegation, "but understand that we will not tolerate any threats to human security." The Vex learned that lesson and they no longer exist. The Cathara offered formal alliance, technological exchange, and territorial concessions in exchange for human protection. They had seen what happened to species that opposed humanity, and they had no desire to suffer the same fate. Similar offers came from dozens of other alien civilizations. Some offered trade agreements, others requested military protection, and a few simply wanted to ensure that humanity would not consider them a threat. Commander Alex Turner, now an admiral, oversaw the integration of new territories into human space. Former Vex worlds were being colonized by human settlers, their ecosystems carefully studied and modified to support human life. "We are not just surviving anymore," Turner reported to Earth Command. "We are expanding faster than ever before. Every year brings new worlds under human control." The expansion was carefully planned and heavily defended. Every new colony was established with full military support and defensive capabilities. Humanity had learned that the galaxy was full of threats, and they prepared for all of them. Children, growing up in this new era, learned a very different version of human history than previous generations. They studied the Vex War as the defining moment when humanity proved its strength and determination to survive. On New Terra, rebuilt from the ashes of the original colony, memorial walls listed the names of those killed in the initial attacks. Above the memorials, human warships patrolled the skies as a reminder that such losses would never happen again. The psychological impact of the war had fundamentally changed human civilization. The species that had once explored space with curiosity and hope now approached the universe with calculated caution and overwhelming strength. "We learned the galaxy's most important lesson," President Santos said during a speech marking the 5th anniversary of victory. "The strong survive, and the weak become footnotes in someone else's history." When new alien civilizations asked what had happened to the Vex Collective, humanity's response was always the same. They chose extinction over coexistence. We honored their choice. The message was clear to anyone intelligent enough to understand. Humanity had become the dominant power in their region of space not through conquest or aggression, but through the simple demonstration that threatening them resulted in complete annihilation. Dr. Foster's research continued to advance human understanding of alien biology and technology. Her team studied every form of life they encountered, always looking for potential weaknesses that could be exploited if those species ever became hostile. "We are prepared for anything the galaxy might send against us," she reported to the Defense Directorate. "No matter how advanced or powerful, every species has vulnerabilities. We will find them and use them if necessary." The galaxy had learned to respect and fear humanity in equal measure. The peaceful explorers who had first ventured into space were gone, replaced by a species that had proven its willingness and ability to do whatever survival required. Trade flowed through human space, as alien civilizations sought to benefit from humanity's advanced technology and military protection, but every alien visitor understood the unspoken rules: respect human authority, contribute to human prosperity, and never threaten human interests. As the years passed, humanity's influence continued to grow. Their ships patrolled ever larger regions of space, Their colonies spread to dozens of new worlds, and their technology advanced beyond anything their ancestors could have imagined. The Vex Collective had wanted to eliminate humanity because they saw them as a threat to galactic order. In the end, they had been absolutely correct. Humanity had become exactly the kind of dominant, expansionist species that the Vex had feared. The difference was that humanity had learned to be subtle about their dominance. They did not announce themselves as conquerors or demand submission from other species. They simply made it clear through their actions that cooperation was rewarded and threats were eliminated. The galaxy was at peace, but it was a peace maintained by the certain knowledge that humanity possessed the will and ability to destroy any species that threatened them. The children of Earth had learned the universe's harshest lesson and become its most successful students. In the end, the Vex had gotten exactly what they had tried to give: complete extinction. But they had also created their own destroyers by awakening something in humanity that could never again be put to sleep. The galaxy belonged to the strong, and humanity had proven beyond any doubt that they were the strongest of all. President Maria Santos stood before the assembled leaders of humanity and made a decision that would change the course of history. Her face was hard, and her voice was cold as she spoke words that 6 months ago would have been unthinkable. The eyes. Vex Collective has shown us what they truly are, she said. They are genocidal aliens who believe we have no right to exist. They have murdered 200,000 of our people and tried to wipe out our entire species. We will not make the same mistake they made. We will not leave enemies alive to threaten us again. The room was silent. Everyone understood what the president was saying. Humanity was about to do something it had never done before. Completely. Destroy another intelligent species. Operation Final Solution is authorized, Santos continued. The Vex Collective will be eliminated as a threat to human survival. There will be no negotiations, no surrender, no mercy. They chose this path when they decided we did not deserve to live. Admiral Ryan Clark received the orders with mixed feelings. He was a military man who understood the necessity of war. But this was different. This was not just about winning. It was about erasing an entire civilization from existence. Assemble every ship we have, Clark ordered his staff. Every military vessel, every converted civilian ship, every captured Vex craft we can operate. We are going to end this war permanently. The fleet that gathered was the largest in human history. Thousands of ships from across human space converged on the staging areas. They carried weapons specifically designed to exploit Vex biological weaknesses and disrupt their technology. Colonel Jack Stevens led the ground forces that would be responsible for occupying Vex worlds. His soldiers were equipped with biological weapons that Dr. Foster's team had created to target alien physiology. These weapons were designed to shut down Vex cybernetic systems and leave them defenseless. I want to be clear about our mission, Jack told his officers. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to occupy. We are here to eliminate a threat to human survival. Every Vex facility, every piece of their technology, every trace of their civilization is to be destroyed. The Vex tried to negotiate when they realized what humanity was planning. Overseer Zenth sent messages offering to withdraw from human space and establish neutral zones. He promised that the Vex would never again interfere with human expansion. Ambassador Kate Williams, who had survived the initial betrayal, delivered humanity's response. Her voice was calm but filled with steel as she spoke to the alien leader. You made your choice when you decided we did not deserve to exist, she said. You showed us that your species views genocide as an acceptable solution to problems. Now, we are making our choice. There will be no coexistence with creatures who think like you. The final campaign began with simultaneous attacks on 17 Vex star systems. Human fleets appeared without warning and struck with overwhelming force. There was no attempt at strategic objectives or territorial gain. The goal was simple: complete destruction. Captain Rodriguez's Ghost Fleet had grown into a massive force of stealth ships that penetrated deep into Vex territory. They used their knowledge of alien defensive patterns to bypass fortifications and strike at targets the Vex thought were safe. No survivors, Rodriguez ordered his captains. No exceptions. Every Vex ship, every Vex base, every Vex installation is to be destroyed completely. The psychological warfare was as brutal as the physical campaign. Dr. Foster had developed techniques to inject false information and terrifying images into the Vex collective network. The aliens found their shared consciousness filled with confusion, fear, and paranoia. Vex commanders began receiving contradictory orders from their superiors. Some units were told to attack while others were ordered to retreat. The network that had been their greatest strength became a weapon that humans used against them. Individual Vex began suffering complete mental breakdowns as their connection to the collective was corrupted. They lost the ability to function without the shared consciousness that had guided them all their lives. Many simply stopped moving and died where they stood. Commander Alex Turner, who had survived the battle for Phoenix Station, led the assault on the Vex homeworld system. The fleet under his command included ships from every human colony and thousands of volunteers who had lost family members in the initial attacks. "This is for New Terra," Turner announced as his ships opened fire. "This is for Haven Point. This is for Port Liberty. This is for every human who died because these aliens thought we did not deserve to live." The battle for the Vex homeworld lasted 3 days and 3 nights. Human forces showed no mercy and took no prisoners. Ancient cities that had stood for thousands of years were reduced to ash and rubble. Orbital facilities were blown apart, and their debris scattered into space. When the bombing stopped, nothing remained alive on the planet's surface. The birth world of the Vex collective had become a dead rock floating in space. But the campaign was not finished. Human forces systematically hunted down every remaining Vex ship and outpost across dozens of star systems. They used captured alien technology to track fleeing survivors and destroyed them wherever they were found. Major Martinez led Marine units that boarded and captured the last Vex command ships. His soldiers showed the same efficiency they had learned fighting for their species' survival. There were no dramatic battles or heroic gestures, just methodical, professional elimination of targets. "Any Vex who surrender?" one of his Marines asked during a boarding action. "There are no surrenders in a war of extinction," Martinez replied. "They made the rules. We are just following them." The final phase involved destroying Vex infrastructure and technology to ensure they could never rebuild. Human engineers used alien construction techniques to create weapons that would poison Vex worlds for generations. Nothing would ever grow there again. Dr. Foster supervised the systematic destruction of Vex research facilities and databases. Every piece of scientific knowledge, every technological advancement, every cultural artifact was methodically erased from existence. "Are we doing the right thing?" one of her assistants asked as they watched centuries of alien civilization burn. Amy's face showed no emotion. "They decided to exterminate us because they thought we were a threat to their vision of galactic order. We are showing them what a real threat looks like." The last confirmed Vex sighting occurred in the Tau Ceti system, when Captain Morrison's ships cornered a small refugee fleet trying to escape into deep space. The aliens sent one final message before the human ships opened fire. "You have become monsters," the Vex commander transmitted. "You are everything we said you were." Morrison's response was broadcast across the human fleet. "Yes, we are. You made us this way. You wanted to see what humanity becomes when we fight for survival. This is your answer." The refugee ships were destroyed without survivors. The Vex collective, a civilization that had existed for thousands of years and eliminated 7 other species, ceased to exist in the span of 18 months. Human forces began the long process of securing former Vex territory and cataloging the alien technology they had captured. Every piece of equipment was studied and either integrated into human systems or destroyed to prevent anyone else from using it. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson about humanity. The species that had once approached space with wonder and hope had become something far more dangerous when threatened. They had the ability to adapt, evolve, and become whatever survival required. Other alien species that had observed the war from a distance took note of the outcome. The Vex had been one of the most powerful civilizations in this region of the galaxy. Their complete destruction sent a clear message to anyone who might consider threatening humanity. The war was over. but its consequences would shape the galaxy for centuries to come. Humanity had proven that peaceful intentions did not mean weakness, and that even the most advanced species could be destroyed if they chose the wrong enemy. The Vex Collective was gone, without a trace, their civilization erased so completely that future archaeologists would struggle to prove they had ever existed. But their legacy lived on in the hardened species that humanity had become, and in the warning their fate sent to any who might threaten the children of Earth. In the end, the aliens had gotten exactly what they had given: complete and total extermination. The only difference was that humanity had proven better at it than they were,